What's going on YouTube? Thank you guys so much once again for tuning into my channel, and in this video today I'm going to be showing you guys how to re-glue the outsole on a pair of Air Max 90s. And while I have you here for this particular pair of Air Max 90s, these bacons right here, within this video I am also going to be showing you guys how to get a perfect color match. So without any further ado, let's jump straight into this tutorial. Okay, so the first thing that I want to touch down on before I actually jump into this reglue is to let you guys know that this process is extremely similar to when you are regluing the outsole to a pair of Air Jordan 11s. The only difference is that the outsole on Air Max 90s have a lot more room for error. There's a lot more grooves that you have to worry about actually lining up with the midsole. So if you are doing this and following along at home, please pay attention, please take your time, and please be careful. And with all that being said, the supplies that you are going to need in order to complete this project are acetone, and you guys already know the drill. This is an old bottle of nail polish remover. I take straight acetone from any hardware store and I fill it to the top simply for easy access. Some cotton balls, barge cement, some clamps, and you should be able to pick these up at pretty much any hardware store. If not these exact ones, you will be able to find something very similar. A shoe tree to keep the shape of the shoe while you are actually re-gluing it, and for this particular project I'm going to be using a Reshoevn8r adjustable shoe tree. It makes my life a hell of a lot easier, and remember, you can save 20% off of your entire order over at Reshoevn8r.com by using my discount code. I will leave it in the description for you to follow. And obviously you need the shoes that actually need the reglue, or else this video would be completely pointless now, wouldn't it? So with all of that being said, let's jump straight into this reglue. Alright, so the first thing that I want to do is actually remove all of this old glue residue from the outsole and the bottom of the midsole. And for anyone wondering how I actually removed the outsole, the glue was just so old and brittle that it just completely peeled off. I wanted to do it for the video, but it just all happened so fast, man. Like, I just peeled it just a little bit, and the next thing I know, it was like this, and just please forgive me. So in order to get this old glue off of the outsole, we are going to apply some acetone to a cotton ball and get to rubbing. Sounds sensual, doesn't it? Alright, so we have a nice smooth surface to perform this reglue on, and what is next on the list of things to do is to get these laces out and put this shoe tree in. So the only thing left to do now is to actually get to regluing this outsole, and like I said in the beginning of the video, this is a very similar process to regluing the outsole of an Air Jordan 11. So what we're going to do is actually reglue this in sections. I am going to start from the heel of the shoe and work my way forward, but before I get into that, I'm actually going to map out my first glue, because like I said, the outsole to a pair of Air Max 90s has a lot of room for error, so you just want to know exactly where you're going to be placing the heel of the shoe before you apply any adhesive. And that looks like that is going to be a pretty good place to start. Hopefully I don't mess this up. Let's get going. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is apply a little bit of barge cement, let it sit there for a good 10 minutes, heat it up, and then apply pressure to both sides, and that should form a nice strong bond. Make sure that you also use thin layers of the barge cement, because this stuff does seep out and it will create a mess. Like I've said before in previous reglue videos, the main ingredient to barge cement is acetone. So if that gets on the midsole, your paint job is going to be completely ruined, and let's keep on going. Just remember what I said, you don't need a lot of barge cement, a little will do you the job exactly the way that you want it done. This stuff is very effective, very powerful, very strong. And now we play the waiting game. Alright, so I think enough time has passed. It's been about 7 to 10 minutes. I don't really know exactly how long it's been. I haven't kept a timer. You might want to keep a timer at home, but you want to feel the actual glue. If it has like a nice cool feel to it, you should be able to heat it up and get going. So with that being said, I'm going to put this on medium heat, not full heat, because you will blast a hole straight through the midsole, straight through the outsole, because these heat guns get fucking hot, man. So we're going to heat this up and we're going to bond it together. Let's see how we go. Alright, let's see how this goes. Alright, and once you have the shoe lined up nice and right, you want to take your clamps and just clamp it down, not too hard because the glue can still shift and it will ruin your entire reglue. I like to put one on the heel just to apply a little bit of pressure so I don't have to worry about regluing that spot later, because the heel on these Air Max 90s are the biggest pain in the ass to stay down. Put one right in the middle, and then we're going to let this sit here for a good 20 minutes before we come back and go on to the next part. Alright, so it has been about 20 minutes and the actual heel is nice and bonded on there. Pulling on it is not coming up, and I probably should not do that because there's a very good chance that that could have just ripped up just then, and I would have had to start this whole video over. But anyways, we are moving on to the middle portion of the midsole and the outsole, and it is going to be the exact same process as the heel. I'm going to allow the glue to sit there for a good 10 minutes. I'm going to heat it up, and then we are going to bond it. And with that being said, let's get this retro Snickers barge cement, whatever you want to call it, applied. What is going on right now? Whatever, let's just do this. For anyone wondering, because I'm sure that you saw it, I actually took the shoe tree out to reglue the actual middle portion of this midsole and the outsole, pretty much just because this shoe tree is just getting in the way of these clamps. You definitely want it in there when you first start out the reglue just to make sure that the shape of the shoe is proper, but once you start moving on towards the actual full length of the shoe, you don't really necessarily need this, although I do recommend to keep it in there if you can help it. So now we are just going to wait for this glue to bond and cure, and then we are going to move to the front portion of this reglue. So the glue in the middle of the midsole and the outsole has completely dried, completely bonded, completely cured, and now it's time to finish off this last little flap. And in order to do that, I'm going to do exactly the same thing that I did on the heel and the middle, and let's get to gluing. Alright, so while we are waiting once again for the glue to bond and cure, what it is time to do now is to get a nice paint match on this brown on these pair of bacons. This was a pair where I already did the actual Outsole Reglue, so I'm going to be using this for reference. I've already scoped out the paints that I want to use for this particular color match, but right now I need to figure out exactly how much of each paint I need to use. And in order to do that, I am going to be using some medicine droppers for the ratio, and you do not need to use medicine droppers. You can definitely scope it out by eye if you want to. I just find this to be a little bit more efficient personally. So the colors that I'm going to be using are brown, sand, and English tan. Now that we know what colors I'm going to be mixing up to get this nice shade of brown, let's get this mixing party going, starting with Angelus Brown. Not 100% sure if adding one drop of this English tan is going to bring it to that exact pigment, but it's going to be a risk that I'm going to have to take because this is just a little bit too dark. So I'm going to add one drop of English tan to this mix, and hopefully that will get me to the exact color that I'm looking for. Now, if you have never done a paint mix yourself, a little beginner's tip just for anyone starting out is to let you know that when you actually mix up your own paint, it will never dry the same color as it is wet. It is usually always a little bit darker when it's dry, and with that being said, I'm going to take this paint and actually put it over this original midsole, and just to prove to you guys that this is the original midsole, I'll show you the cracking that is taking place. The cracking never really looks like that for Angelus. You can see it right here. It's been worn a couple of times, so with all of that being said, I am not cutting this video right now. I don't care if I mess up, gonna get it in focus. I'm going to take this paint, we're gonna put it on the midsole, and I'm gonna dry it in real time for you all to see. Ready? Here we go. Get the paint off of there. Now, right over it. I'm sure you can see the wet paint. Now I'm going to take the heat gun. Oh man. What a beautiful, beautiful color match. Let's look at that one more time. Oh man, I love it. I am loving it, loving it, loving it. What a beautiful, beautiful color match. Perfection, baby. Okay, so we have the heel, the middle, and the front section of the outsole re-glued to the midsole of these Bacon Air Max 90s. We have our color match down, and all that's left to do now is to re-glue this toe cap. And in order to do that, I'm going to be applying a very thin layer of barge cement because this is a very delicate nubuck, and I really do not want to get any of that barge cement onto the uppers of this shoe because it will completely ruin it. And after I finished applying the glue in order to clamp it down, I'm going to be using some non-residue masking tape. I got this at Bunnings. If you are in America, just use the stuff that Vic uses. He gets it at Staples. They actually have a video on Reshoevn8r's website showing where you can get it. This is the best way that I have personally found to actually clamp down the toe box of any shoe. It just holds it for as long as you need it there, and you don't have to worry about any residue on the shoe afterwards. So with all that being said, let's get this toe cap re-glued and finish this project off.